welcome to another DragonLance Saga review episode. I almost messed that up. It is Kieran Brook Green the 15th. My name is Adam, and today I'm going to give you my spoiler review of The Eve of the Maelstrom by Rabe. I will be spoiling this story, so if you don't want to know it, or you haven't read it yet, you probably never should, so it doesn't really matter. Who cares? This is a nightmare of a novel. It is arguably the worst novel I have ever read that has anything to do with Dragonlance. For a number of reasons that I'll get into here shortly, I would like to take a moment and thank the members of this YouTube channel and invite you to consider becoming a member by visiting the link in the description below, and always remind you that you can always pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using the affiliate links in the description below as well. All of this just gets my beak wet a little bit. I got quite the beak to get wet, so hook a brother up. All right, so the way these things work out is I painfully read the book, and then I gave you my pre-written review, and then I'm just going to present it to you, and then on the tail end of that, any comments or questions or ideas or thoughts that pop into your minds, throw them up in YouTube chat if you're joining live, and I'll address them, and we'll just sort of riff a little bit. It's hump day, so let's hump? Okay. Hey, Andrew. Good to see you, man. What's up, Chris? Okay. All right. We are immediately given the answer to the question about Takhisis' return. It turns out Frost was talking about Malys's intention of using ancient artifacts to elevate her to godhood through their destruction and magical release. This makes as much sense as Skie destroying artifacts to return magic to Krynn in order to leave to the Grey and collect Kitiara's soul, so I'm down. Now that we know what Malys's plans are, we pick up with Skie headed... I know you guys say Sky, but that's not how words work. So I'm just going to go with Skie. Headed to his lair with the artifacts, Huma's Dragonlance, and Goldmoons' Holy Medallion of Faith. It's strange that just holding the lance causes Skie harm. It seems it should require, I don't know, piercing him in order to hurt him. But again, I accept it. The heroes are all collecting themselves after Palin saved them with his illusion from Skie, and they now only have the artifact, the Fist of Eli, and the promise of Dalamar's ring from the master of the tower. They decide to travel to hunt down Daman Grimwolf and take his glaive, which is clearly an artifact, then travel to collect the crown from Dimmernost, if they can find it. So Palin takes some of the heroes with him to the Tower of Wayreth to research Daman's glaive and the Dimmernosti crown. The Shadow Sorcerer is pretty insistent about them dealing with the Shadow Dragon first that's killing the evil dragons and absorbing their power. But no one else seems to be concerned at all. Knowing who the Shadow Sorcerer is, I wonder if Rabe knew who it would end up being as she was writing this trilogy, and I don't think she did. Daman is being controlled by Malys and enters Sable's land, where he finds and kills some of her spawn. Then, as she comes to kill Daman, Malys speaks through Daman and gains him safe passage. He is traveling to Ogre Ruins in Blood. The heroes travel through the swamp and come across some Bakali, who are transporting elves for Sable. It turns out that if the spawn are not created by humans, they end up as abominations, and that's exactly what Sable likes. The heroes rescue the elves, who know the way to the ruins in Blood, where Daman is headed. The sorcerers in the Tower of Wayreth are scrying his location and updating the heroes as they travel. Daman ends up being met by some knights of Takhisis and is forced to kill some Islamic knights, but the Shadow Dragon attacks before he can kill the final knight. The Shadow Dragon murders all the knights of Takhisis, leaving only one, the commander, Jalan, to tell the story. This is all after the Shadow Dragon kills Furno, Malys's lieutenant red dragon. It was a pretty underwhelming fight, as the Shadow Dragon seems incredibly overpowered with its breath weapon. Not even an adult red dragon can stand up to it. That's strange to me. Naturally, Malys is infuriated and leaves Daman to look for Inferno. Daman tells the remaining Islamic knights to flee and wanders off to hide from the Dark Knights. We return to the tower, where Ulin has taken Sunrise, the gold dragon, presumably to the Dragon Isles to talk with the other dragons and train with them there. And Blister and Usha ask Palin to send them to the other heroes in Blood, because they're pretty much just bored being in the tower. Usha has a flashback early on about her time with the Quillency elves when Palin collects the Fist of Eli, and they suggest that there's more to her history that they almost want to leak out, but they don't in this novel. So I wonder if there was actually plans to go into more detail about Usha's history. And of course, history about the Fist of Eli that no one knows thus far. I honestly don't recall at this point reading it if it has ever been clarified, so I looked forward to rediscovering if there was in fact an explanation. And as far as the Fist of Eli goes, there is. Also, the Master of the Tower believes that Damon's glaive is an ancient artifact called Reorx's Grin. It's the best name they could come up with. It's so ancient that it was actually lost during the All Saints War, and that was in prehistory. That's crazy. That's crazy old. All right, so Goldmoon is approached by Riverwind's spirit and told to return to the living, and she argues and fights against him, but we all know that she ultimately will return at some point. Damon goes into the mountains into hiding and is caught by the Shadow Dragon, who realizes he's under control of Malys. They fight, but Damon is subdued, and the Shadow Dragon breaks the scale that is giving Malys power over Damon. Gilthanas and Silvara arrive to collect Damon for judgment, but Silvara and the Shadow Dragon work together to remove the scale's influence entirely from Damon. It dyes his hair color. That's like the effect. Now, presumably there is a trilogy about him becoming more influenced about the Shadow Dragon. I've never read it. I don't really know anything about it. So maybe it's great, but at this point I have no desire to read it. Damon then leaves with Gilthanas and Silvara in order to find the other heroes. They're all scouring the mountains to find Damon, and they come across an army of red dragon spawns seemingly searching for Furno's remains or Damon. They get back into they get backed into a cave and use magic to seal themselves inside to protect them from the red dragon's army, red dragon spawn army. And they begin exploring the cave when Jasper falls through to a lower cavern area, hurting himself. He's also lost confidence in himself since Goldmoon's death and is unable to heal himself. Because healing it's called like healing from the heart. You know, it's very Care Bear Stare-like in 5th Age saga system, where these books are all written based around. So you have to really just believe in yourself, and then you can do stuff. It's pretty stupid on the surface presenting magic that way, but reading about it is infinitely more stupid. It's just the worst. There are no consequences in this novel, except for one person. And I'll give you a hint about who that is. It's Jasper. Okay, it's not a hint. He dies. But he ends up healing everyone all the time. And I'm sitting here reflecting about the Saga System game that I ran with a bunch of people on this channel and how difficult it was just to heal someone a couple hit points or cards. And Jasper's just willy-nilly handing out the healing all the time. And then his mentor dies, which literally has no physical or emotional effect on him other than sorrow, understandably. But that then blocks him from being able to heal anything. Just strange. Very strange. If he was a player in my game and he was saying, I would love to heal the other heroes, but I just can't get my confidence up there. Well, then I would just ask one of the heroes to smack him in his face and get over it. That's the stupidest reason for not being able to use your power, because you're sad. Get out of here. Don't be dumb. All right. So anyway, the half-ogre Growler is also looking for him and falls as well, hurting himself. We then get this wonderful flashback of Growler in his home with his wife. He's a half-ogre, but he's married to a human woman. He was attacked by a green dragon and a yellow-eyed gnome, granting his wish to shut out screams of the dying. Now, that's when Fury, the wolf, showed up, who also has yellow eyes, leading us to believe that Fury is not just a wolf, nor do I think he's a yellow-eyed gnome. He's some other entity. And that may also be explained in that other trilogy about Damon, but it's definitely not explained in this book. Growler is ultimately healed by Jasper, who rediscovers his ability with the help of Goldmoon's spirit, possibly? Did she come back already? It's completely unclear. We have no idea why he couldn't heal 2 seconds before, and now suddenly he can heal. You're just throwing your hands up in the air. It doesn't make any sense. This book feels so rushed and has so much to wrap up as the final book in the trilogy that I can't help but feel that there should be more than one more book in this series. In any case, the heroes regroup and are saved by Silvara. They're approached by Palin, scrying, and Gilthanas and Silvara need to search Kur for potential places Takhisis might return to, and so they drop off the heroes at the harbor town and head out. The heroes discover the area has been taken over by Knights of Takhisis looking for them, and since they need to travel to Demurnisty to get the crown artifact, they need a ship. They find a boat to take to a ship in order to overtake that ship, and what follows is an insanely long and wildly unrealistic battle where the heroes face off against, now there's like 5 of them, they face off against multiple dozens of skilled, trained Dark Knights and defeat them all, like just piling bodies up on each other, while actively burning the ships as well, so that those ships can't give chase. Though the heroes seem to get defeated individually, they don't actually stop fighting. They just explains how tired they are and how many cuts they have on their body, but it doesn't affect them from being able to mass murder these Dark Knights with wild, reckless abandon. All right, so they collectively still beat the odds, and it is the first time that I'm actually unable to suspend my disbelief in this novel. They would have been massacred. It is so unrealistic that they would ever make it out alive, let alone face Brine the Dragon Overlord and defeat her with only 100 pages left. Not to mention Malys and Kellandros and Takhisis and Shadow Sorcerer and everything else that needs to be wrapped up in the last 100 pages. And this is the last book in the trilogy. So, we're presented with a scenario where the heroes steal a new ship, which all others are in flames, so it's really just the only ship, and Dalamar easily, at near death himself, kills 2 Dark Knights by throwing 1 dagger at them each. And they just drop dead. Now the dagger's not magical, it's just a dagger. But Dalamar threw it, and he's a hero, so you have to kill the bad guys, I guess. And then the rest of the crew just gives up. They're like, oh, you killed 2 of us with daggers, we wildly outnumber you, but I guess we'll just let you take the ship. So fucking stupid. Now they begin sailing to Dimmernos, staying at the outer edges of the realm so Bryn Seldimir doesn't kill them, as he does all the ships that come into his territory. He's the sea dragon, the dragon overlord that controls the sea. Bit of a minor dragon overlord, actually. The near dead are all healed by Jasper Fireforge, who once again has regained his confidence, and Usha, with the aid of Jasper, recalls the secret of the Fist of Eli, and Jasper now wields the artifact. So the Fist of Eli is an artifact created by Paladin, and it can kill on command, but you have to know the secret words or something, or connect with it, or do the Care Bear Stare, or some other bullshit. And it like enhances everyone's ability to fight, so it's like a bless spell, like this community bless spell or something, like a large mass combat thing. Meanwhile, Farrell dives into the sea and shape changes into an octopus, then a fish, and finds the Sea Elf city. She's met by a Sea Elf named Velona, who is instrumental in helping her people understand that Farrell is not evil and is a sorcerer elf. She's eventually taken to the Speaker of the Sea, Nukala, as the whole time I take a medicine for my debilitating asthma called Nukala. And so the whole time I'm thinking about this, I'm just imagining myself getting shot in the arm. Anyway, as Farrell tells her about everything that has been happening above the surface and asks for the Crown of Tides, the Demurnisty have been using the crown to make sure Brine doesn't destroy their nation, but they are willing to part with it if Farrell promises to kill Brine. She reluctantly agrees, and on the way back to the ship, Brine sees and attacks her, then searches for the ship that she must have come in on because she's clearly not a sea elf. As Brine attacks the ship, Dalamar and Grawler dive overboard to attack the Dragon Overlord in the water. Now, far be it from me to tell anyone how to tactically attack a sea dragon, but swimming out to it and trying to stab it with your sword arguably seems to be the worst possible way of doing it. And these are like seasoned warriors. Of course they almost die again. And I have to say almost because there's no consequences in this. So, Dalamar is nearly killed, and with the Fist of Eli's full power in the hands of Jasper, with all of his confidence, and the ship being steered into the dragon, they defeat Brine. They actually defeated a dragon overlord by ramming their ship into it. Did no one ever consider that? Has no one ever tried to ram the dragon, the sea dragon? It seems like the only tactic you can try. All right. So Vaylana rescued Farrell and Daman, and once again, there are no casualties facing off against a dragon overlord of all things, and they didn't even need to use the Crown of Tides in the first place. This is all way too convenient and way too easy. The dragon overlords are supposed to be immeasurable in power. Dragonlances barely affect them. Artifacts hurt them, but rarely do any permanent damage to them. Yet these heroes never seem to lose at anything, and it only gets worse. Palin is sent to Erican's Rest, where the Shadow Sorcerer is convinced Takhisis will re-enter Krynn from, as the mortals still think the Dragon Overlords are referring to the old goddess rather than the elevated Malys. And then the Shadow Sorcerer attacks Palin, revealing that she is in fact a spy for Malys, and has been the whole time. If it wasn't for you crazy kids, I would have gotten away with it. This is at direct odds with the War of Souls trilogy that was later released, and the reneged truth about the Shadow Sorcerer, but what can you do? At the time it was written, the Shadow Sorcerer wasn't Takhisis as far as we know, so whatever. As Palin defeats her, she disappears, never to be seen in the novel again. And then we flash forward. Everyone is outside the Dragon Overlord's area in Kerr, where she is going to ascend to godhood. That's right. They went from being abandoned in a crashed ship in the ocean that's slowly Titanic-like sinking, and Palin barely surviving an attack with the Shadow Sorcerer, to everyone is together months later, right outside where everything is supposed to happen. How did they get there? Who knows? Who saved them? Who knows? Doesn't matter. We just need to propel the story, because we only got like 50 pages left. All right, so the heroes stuck on their broken ship were apparently rescued and slipped past the Dark Knights that were waiting for them on the shore. All the Dragon Overlords and their lieutenants are gathered with the Dark Knights and Goblin and Ogre tribes, who had zero effect on the story at all, but were given chapters in other books for absolutely no reason except to gather humans in order to make spawn. None of them matter, as the heroes just waltz into the dragon gathering and literally go toes with them, like Daffy Duck style. Ridiculous. So stupid. Let's see, where did I leave off? The overlords allow the mortals to attack them because they are beneath them in power. Like, for real. The heroes are running, like individual heroes are facing off against individual dragon overlords. And they're like that to, a dragon overlord. And so they just run up and they're just whacking at them with their artifacts. And these dragons are like, I got to concentrate on this. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's fine. It's so stupid. But then Frost ends up leaving because he's hurt a little bit too much in his ankle, apparently. And then the good dragons with Solamnic Knights arrive and battle with, well, it isn't really clear who they're battling with. We just assume it's with all of the Ogre and Goblin and Dark Knights out there, but it never really says. It just says that the heroes are battling the overlords and dragons are all flying in the sky willy-nilly. Okay. This story focuses on Malys ascending to godhood with an altar of magic items and artifacts. And as she is ascending to godhood, Kellandros approaches and steals the power of the altar in order to open a portal to the Grey, taking a blue dragon from Kitiara, for Kitiara in order to inhabit. Because her soul, in this story, her soul is absolutely in the Grey. Kellandros has seen it, and he knows exactly where to go to get it. Before he leaves, he gives Daman a DragonLance, for real. The evil blue dragon gives Daman, a hero, Huma's DragonLance in order to kill Malys with it. So he takes Huma's DragonLance, which is the oldest DragonLance, crafted by Paladin himself, bequeathed to the most worthy of knights. And it don't do shit. What ends up happening is he stabs Malys. Malys does like that whole, ooh, ah thing. And then Kellandros literally pimp slaps her and she goes flying through the air. This is Gene Rabe's writing. I'm not making that up. How insane is that? So stupid. So don't worry about Malys. She's fine because there's no consequences at all here. She's not dead. She's just pissed off and she vows revenge against those pesky kids. Kalendros then leaves Krynn, but promises Palin and the heroes can safely leave. Seriously. The good guys are attacking the bad guys. The bad guy, who I guess is ultimate power god now that he bitch slapped Malys across into the Blood Sea, is like, everyone leave these heroes alone that have been actively attacking you and trying to kill you. All you knights in the sky, let's just call a timeout and everyone go home. See ya. And he pops smoke. And everyone just leaves. Everyone just stops fighting. They're like, all right, well, take care, dragon overlords. They walk away. It's the most insane thing I've ever read in my life. And this is the second time that I'm reading it. I must have blocked it out. It's so stupid. All right. So, the entire battle just stops as everyone just goes home. No harm, no foul. The only casualty was Jasper, who fought with the resurrected Goldmoon, who is now once again young, way before Takhisis could have had the power to grant her youth. This was such a rushed novel that undermines the severity of the world and the novels that preceded it. It ended in such a haphazard way so as to be comically stupid. And now I finally remember why everyone hated this trilogy of novels. It's not for how it began, it's how it ended. We're left with the promise of Kalendros collecting Kitiara, reneged. The Shadow Sorcerer being mortal female spy for Malys, reneged. Goldmoon returning in youth because she was destined to train others who would defeat the overlords, reneged. Palin, whose whole body is scarred and burned, reneged. Ulin traveling home with Sunrise and the dragon never to be seen or heard from again, and nothing actually changed in all of these three novels in the world. Not one thing changed. Malys is still in control, the dragon overlords still dominate the land, only one overlord was killed, but he was a loner and uninvolved in the first place, and only Jasper suffered death for all of it. If you can avoid this novel, I would highly recommend doing so. This was a joke of a story that had the promise of something better, but was wildly mishandled from the start. You can blame TSR selling out to wizards, you can blame Gene Rabe for shit writing, you can blame Weiss and Hickman for reneging everything that Gene Rabe wrote, but don't bother reading it. And that is my review. I was so upset after reading this novel. I was genuinely angry. My wife was like coming up. She's like, hey, goes give me a hug. I was like, nope, I can't hug you. I'm really angry right now. It's stupid. All right. So 2 questions for after the review. What kind of swear words are used in the Dragonlance appearing in the novels? I don't actually know. You know, like Battlestar Galactica had frack? You know, frack in this and frack in that. I don't know what swear words they have in this, to be honest. I don't think I ever recalled any. Have you embraced the fact that you, Adam, have fans? No. I think rightfully so, people are fans of Dragonlance and they put up with me. Let's see. Hey, Chris, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Keeping the beak wet since 2022. You still have this book, Shalafi? Burn it. No, I'm just kidding. Keep books, always. Don't ever burn them. In hindsight, it was a lot to ask of Gene Rabe to continue Weiss and Hickman's legacy. They should have gone with a more proven Dragonlance writer like Knack or a combination of Niles and Grubb. I think Niles and Grubb would have done great. I'm not a huge fan of Knack, actually. I think he's overrated. I think people like the... I think Weiss and Hickman are going to renege some of his story of the Legend of Huma. So prepare yourselves. It's just a suspicion, but... So Reorx's smile is a mask of some kind? No, it's a glaive. It's a polearm. It's like actually a weapon. I don't know why it's called Reorx's smile. This is weird. Let's see. Dalamar had a lot of potential as a character. It's a shame. Yeah, I mean, he might still be like badass. I just don't know. Sounds like a great read. Yeah. Saga game shout out. Whoop whoop. See, they really believe they could beat those mean knights. Yeah, that's all you need, man. You just have to believe it in your core. You can do it. Don't ever tell your kids that, because that's not true. That's a lie. But we can tell fantasy people that because, you know, we're grown up and stuffs. Ramming a sea dragon is a straight up Ursula Little Mermaid move. 100%. And it worked then and it worked now. It didn't really even work then though, but it worked now. So 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Let's see. You love the book so much. You were the exact opposite. You thought it was amazing. Your opinion, the worst DragonLance book you ever read was Darkness and Light and the prelude about Sturm and Kitiara going to the moon. You didn't like that? It wasn't fully reneged. They just added to it. There's a whole adventure where you go to Lunitari. Like, for real. See, you haven't read in 20 years. All right, so reason 124 of why you should only read the books by Weiss and Hickman. Yeah, dude. Yeah, and Chosel, thanks for joining live, man. Yeah. So right now I'm reading Legion by William Blatty. It's the sequel to The Exorcist. So far, I'm really enjoying it. And the next DragonLance novel, I've been sitting on the audiobook trilogy of the Lynch and Majir trilogy for months. So I think I'm going to read the Lynch and Majir trilogy next, and I'll start that next week. And since it's audiobook, I'll just plow through it. So you should have a review at the end of next week for the first book in that. It should be good. I'm looking forward to it anyway. Hey, Jason, thanks for joining live. Yeah, I was so angry because that first novel I thought did a good job of setting up the Fifth Age. The second novel, I was like, all right, where are you going to go? How are you going to finish this thing? And this one, you're just like, what happened? Where did you go wrong? There must have been, because they were developing out the expansions and supplements and adventures for the Saga system while this was being written, like planning it out at the very minimum, there must have been a lot of sort of like fingers in the pie. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people going like, no, we got to include this. Oh, let's just fast forward it. No, we can't kill off the dragon overlords. We got to use them for the adventure modules. And at no point was there ever like, this is the trilogy. Here's the full story we have to tell. And these are the pieces that we're going to tell in these different books. There's no way that could have possibly happened. Otherwise, you could have pieced together a really solid story. And why you had to maintain every one of the dragon overlords, I have no idea. It didn't make any sense. Like, first of all, Malys ends up being killed, yes, by a god and a death dragon, but still, it like the Huma's Dragonlance, the artifact that is crafted simply to murder dragons, defeated Takhisis. Malys just shakes it off like it's a thorn. What kind of crap is that? And then you go through all of this lengths because this whole story started with Kellandros being outside of Krynn in the grave, finding Kitiara's soul. He finds it, comes back in order to get a proper body for her to inhabit, gets trapped here, finds his way out in this last novel, and that was his whole purpose, this entire trilogy, heads out, and we're in exactly the same position. He doesn't get Kitiara's soul, even though he knew exactly where it was, because Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman didn't want him to. And so instead, her soul was used as a sort of MacGuffin that the Takhisis was using to mess with Kellandros with. Like, the whole thing is so stupid, it drives me insane. All right, well, check it out. Don't take my word for it. The Reading Rainbow ending. But don't take my word for it. All right, that is it for my review of The Eve of Maelstrom by Gene Rabe. Did you enjoy this reintroduction and end of so many familiar heroes? Is Daman and his glaive too powerful? I don't even think I changed these questions because I was so upset by the time I finished this stupid novel. I would like to take a moment and remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified about upcoming videos, and click the like button. All of that goes to help other DragonLance fans learn about this channel and its content. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching. I genuinely appreciate it. This has been Adam with DragonLance Saga. Until next time, Slán Javar.